I sense a disturbance.
The only thing I sense is Mortis FM.
Mortis FM, baby. We're back. Back with part 3 of our favorite characters. I'm one of your hosts, Grayson, and with me is my
second host, Cole.
Listen,
What's up?
We don't do numericals, all right? We're equal, all right? We are there's no master and apprentice here, okay?
This is a dual apprenticeship, baby.
Exactly. Seriously though, welcome back to Mortis FM. We are back once again for our favorite characters part 3, and I promise this is going to be the final one because we realize this series is going on way too long, but I think 3 is a good round number. You know, it's a trilogy per se.
Always 3 there are, I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna get into the weeds with our third part of our favorite characters. But first and foremost, we got to talk about our Star Wars experience this week before we get into the content. So I'm gonna go ahead and just assume for both of us, or really just kind of cover both of us. And it's some big news. If you were watching, if you've been following us within the past week or so, you will note that we were on we had a surprise appearance on Dark Side Secrets with Star Wars Sith, Diamond Figs, and Connor from Beyond the Dune Sea. This news pertains to all of them. On December 1st, we will be starting a new stream, which you can find on all of our YouTube channels. So if you follow Beyond the Dune Sea, Diamond Figs, Star Wars Sith, or us, you'll be able to catch it. But, you know, go ahead and subscribe to all of them because they're awesome dudes, and I love them very dearly. So you're wondering, what is this stream? What are you guys doing? What is this collaborative effort? Well, we are starting a new series called Tales from the Archives. I must credit that name to Cole. Phenomenal name that he came up with.
It was a joint effort.
Dude, no, it wasn't. You said it, and I was like, that's awesome. I love it.
Well, it was joint in that you agreed with it, you know?
Well, I guess if that's how we're going it by, yeah. But, yeah, so what is Tales from the Archives? Well, it is a monthly book club where we will be covering a Star Wars book, either canon or legends, over a period of time. So the question remains, what's the first book that we're doing? That is none other than Star Wars Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. Cole has it. The watching video, you've got it. You know what? I'll pull my copy out too. It's a different copy, but
this is also the one without the Legends banner. So this was printed before.
I just realized that
became Legends.
That's right, because Tony showed off his, and his had the Legends banner on it. Very cool. Very cool.
So, you know, I'm really cool like that.
Dude, you're always cool like that.
Don't even trip over it.
Is that Maul on the back of the cover?
It is.
Oh, wow. Didn't even think they'd get to him. Well, anyway, shows what we know.
Just you wait. They do.
So yeah, it's gonna be myself, Cole, Will, at Diamond Figs, Tony at Star Wars Sith, and then Connor and Seth from Beyond the Dune Sea. We're all joining together as a 6-man crew to do a live stream series. So the one on December 1st is going to just be kind of an intro. It's not going to be very heavy or weighted. And so we're going to just cover the first 3 chapters of Darth Plagueis. Keep it pretty simple, short and sweet, especially for anybody who say they're catching the stream for the first time and they didn't hear the news. Well, it's still pretty early on. You can jump on in with us. We want to make it as accessible as possible and kind of cover a wide array of Star Wars content that isn't as popular. It's not the movies, it's not the shows, it's content both new and old that we want to put into the spotlight and just discuss as fans and as friends. So that is kind of our Star Wars experience.
So take the time to get yourself a copy of this if you haven't already. Read up to chapter 3 and meet us then for the discussion. And if you have already discussed the book, then why don't you still give it a little bit of a listen? Maybe we'll have some insights that you didn't think about. Maybe you just want to hear such great guys talking about a book that you love or potentially don't love. Either way, stop by.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is we may not love every single book, but we're going to try to pick books that we want to read or at least talk about. So,
yeah.
So we figured we might as well start off with basically an essential when it comes to Star Wars Legends, and that would be Plagueis. So we're starting off with a heavy hitter, but we will give more details on December 1st. We don't have a specific time yet, but just block that day off. Call out of work. Don't do that. But, you can catch it after the fact.
Call out of work. I expect to see you there, and if I don't, I'm going to be extremely upset at someone that I don't know.
We know. We will be there. We have an intuition. Of course, we sense these disturbances.
I will sense a disturbance in the force. I will say one of our viewers is currently at work today, and I'm very disappointed.
I hope you just start the stream off with that. Like, just say that. Like, before we get started, I sense someone is not in here when they should be in here. But yeah, so go check out at Beyond the Dune Sea, at Diamond Figs, and Star Wars Sith. They are all great friends of ours, and we simply cannot wait to get started on this journey, per se. So I speak for both of us when that was our kind of Star Wars experience. It's kind of a shameless plug. I don't.
Hey, it's just more Mortis. You want more Mortis? You got more Mortis.
Exactly. More this.
All right, so that has been our part 3
See
of
you
our
guys.
favorite characters episode.
Right. Yep. Well said. We will not dwell on.
I thought you were gonna say, "Well said." We will not continue this episode.
No, we're gonna get right into it because last week it literally took us 30 minutes to get into the characters. So
Right.
this week
what
I
were
want
we
to
talking about?
video games, man. We were talking about Path of
No
the
surprise there.
Jedi, Minecraft. We were talking about the Old Republic. It all kind of tied together very well. But this week we are wasting no time. But I want to start with you because I always kind of start off these episodes. You know what? Next week I want you to start off next week's episode.
You got it, man. I have a dashing host somewhere within this bony cage. And he's just waiting. Just you wait.
Well, yeah. I have nowhere to go from that.
Yeah, you have no idea how to respond to that. Just like, yes.
Yeah. Agreed. Give me one of your characters that are on your list that we have not covered and you want to talk pretty heavily about.
Heavily. Okay, so we're talking heavy speak here.
Yeah. I think
Okay, I'm gonna start off strong. Character on my list that honestly is a surprise that I haven't gotten a chance to talk about him yet. General Grievous.
Oh man, yeah, you got to talk about him.
So here's the thing. Ironically enough, as heavily about Grievous, I want to talk. There's not a lot to say because the thing is that out of all of the main villains of Star Wars, in terms of canon material, Grievous is the most clear-cut, the most is the word characterly even characteristically consistent.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have a lot of material outside of like mainstream Star Wars, right? So if we're talking canon, you have him in Revenge of the Sith, of course. You have him in the Clone Wars. ... Where is he? We had like a one-off comic in the Age of Republic, which was cool. I thought that was very great, and I need to actually buy that comic and have it personally because it is the only, like, one of the only pieces of outside Grievous content. He has been mentioned offhand and not by name in Jedi Fallen Order. And yeah, it's when Marin talks about the cyborg destroying the Night Sisters.
Course, yeah.
And that's about it, because the thing is that I've accepted that Dave Filoni doesn't like General Grievous, and that Star Wars just is not. They just don't want to talk about him for whatever reason. But I think that Grievous is as integral to the story as Maul and Dooku were, respectively. Well, I think that he serves. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say there's a lot of, a lot of the bulk of his really great content was Legends. And that's kind of the sad thing. And of course, if you can bring that sort of stuff in if you want. He had a couple different variations on his backstory. Notably, like one that I always enjoyed was that like he was a warrior who had a family, and he was like apex predator. You know, he was numero one on his planet as a clan. And you know the details better than I, but basically through some time, Dooku staged a kind of staged or framed an accident where it made it blame it on the Jedi, which fueled his passion for wanting to kill Jedi and made him a cyborg. That's my favorite take on his backstory. Canonically, I do not think that is the case. I just tend to believe it is, because I think even in Legends version and in canon, they were like, oh yeah, he just wanted to be a cyborg. He just wanted to perfect his body. And I was like, that's cool, but like the Kaleesh are a very ferocious species already.
Right.
And I always like
Very
the idea that
warrior-based.
like that Dooku and Sidious manipulated Grievous into being just this Jedi killer, you know, like that was his sole purpose, was like, we're gonna break down this warrior and rebuild him to become this just absolute ferocious he's a monster, you know.
Oh no, he is.
I mean,
He's a
look at
monster.
Gindy's Clone Wars. That's Grievous in Legends. Everything else is like Grievous in canon, where he's just constantly running away, you know. And there's nothing wrong with, like, you know, knowing when you're gonna lose, like, you know, when you've lost, right? Like even in Gindy's, he kidnaps the Chancellor, he runs away, right? Like,
You talking about the Tartakovsky?
yeah, his first name is Gindy, yeah,
Right.
Gindy Tartakovsky, yeah. Sorry, people, context, but yeah, like that was always like it's a very different Grievous.
Yeah, so the thing is like, yeah, in Legends he has this story about him being a renowned Kaleesh warrior, and when his species was under immense attack by a different species, he reached out to the Jedi and the Republic for help. But since they were a neutral planet, the Jedi did not agree, and that they refused to help. And Grievous, in rage, kind of like condemns the Jedi, but he didn't get set on a war path for that. It was only after his species ended up losing the war that, when he was in a ship, Dooku blew it up and blamed it on the Jedi, that Grievous set on a war path, like, I am going to destroy this entire order. And with that
So good.
makes a lot of sense to me as to why he would have that immense vendetta. And like, there's even a scene in the Clone Wars where, like, I think it's Eth Koth, but like he throws him down to the ground and he's like, I only live to see you die, you know.
That is
like,
great Grievous content.
That's a hard line. And like, I'm not trying to say that there's not good canon Grievous content. I just don't think that there is enough to really show how great this character is.
Yeah.
Now in canon, as far as we know, from the Lair of Grievous episode in Clone Wars and from the Age of Republic comic, it is heavily what's the word for it? Like, implied. It's heavily implied that Grievous, as you said, Grayson, did all of these things to himself, to, you know, just better himself as a warrior. Now, originally, I didn't really like this idea. Originally, I was like, man, I really wish that they did the Legends thing. That, you know, he was framed, or I mean, like the Jedi were framed in his eyes. And originally, I was like, well, it kind of sucks that he did all of this to himself. However, given that Grievous was meant to be, you know, another part of the allegory to, you know, the machine part of Vader, I think it kind of makes sense that it shows that, you know, you severed your connection to the Force. This is what you did to yourself, because that's what a temple, like, there's this spirit within a temple in the Age of Republic novel or comic that basically tells Grievous that with every body part he has removed, he is severing his connection to the Force more and more. It basically tells him you are more connected to the Force than you ever will be again. And then Grievous orders his dreadnought in space to orbitally bombard the temple, and he just watches it until it stops burning,
Yeah.
which is a very good comic. Highly recommend checking it out. Super short read. And I think in another way, if they want to do a Grievous canon story, they could fit in that, yes, he did this stuff to himself, but maybe it was in an effort to save his species.
Yeah.
I think that
Or-
could be a really compelling way.
Even
or
if
to
it-
just, Go
Even
ahead.
if it was like, say the Jedi didn't directly cause him to be injured, let's say like something did happen where like he was already like had a vendetta out against the Jedi, right? And then something happens to him or to his family that makes him unable to be the. I mean, he's still like, for better, like let's say he's paralyzed, right? Let's say like from the waist down he's paralyzed, and he's like he can't hunt. He is not a fighter anymore, right? And so let's say maybe he's already killed one Jedi, right? Dooku then presents him with this opportunity of like, I can help you if you lead my, like you are a tactician, you're a warrior, like I know you want to take on the Jedi, I will give this opportunity to you. And Grievous is like, absolutely, I will. I think that to me, and like, listen, they may never do that. They may never even get to like explaining the full details of it. That's like, here, dude, the untapped potential of like people are sleeping on Grievous. Like in canon, yes, he's kind of a mustache twirling villain in a way, but like
he's a Saturday cartoon villain,
right,
for sure.
But like, I love the idea of, and this is kind of something that's a predominant theme in Star Wars, is when you see a character and you're like, that guy's cool, I like him, what is his backstory, and then going out of your way to be like, oh man, like Grievous has this rich lore. And so even if it wasn't that Dooku, because I don't know if Dooku would necessarily like frame frame the Jedi in that way, but like I could definitely see him using Grievous's hatred to, they have a common goal, right? In that matter is that Dooku has it out for the Jedi. He feels burned, he feels scorned by the Jedi, that's why he left. Grievous could have a similar thing where it's like he went through this tragedy and he already hated Jedi for like neglecting his planet, right? Then he's like, I want, like, gear me up, man, like give me that castle, put me in that armor, like I will do whatever you say, and I will lead your army as long as it means I can kill Jedi, And we've seen his like you said, we've seen his passion in killing Jedi in canon, so it only makes sense, like unless he just really wants to kill Jedi because he's a warrior, which is like understandable, but I think there wouldn't be really a reason for him to like go through those upgrades unless he went through something, because the Kaleesh again are a ferocious species.
Yes, it needs to be more compelling. Like, I mean, what if they just decided that it's like almost the exact same story where he asks the Jedi for help, they refuse, but then this time he's like, I don't need a Jedi, I can do this myself. And then he chromes up, but then by the time he does that, it's already too late. And so now he has nothing left to do but vent his anger and rage out. And again, I think that would be a great allegory to Vader. However, I had a point about Grievous that I wanted to make. Even though it is very clear that Grievous has been, for lack of a better term, nerfed in canon, he loses a lot of battles. He's also really only shown against guys that have to live. Like they're always
plot
saved by plot armor, But this is the point that I wanted to get across. One, even in canon, Grievous is one of the greatest Jedi killers of all time. Even trumping, like, numerous Sith, especially Sith in the Old Republic. Like, that's like, he's like way above in the leaderboards out of Sith. But here's the thing. This is just a guy with cybernetics. And he can deflect laser bolts. Like, he can't deflect them as well as a Jedi, but he can block them with a sword. Now, you're telling me that the real-world equivalent, because keep in mind, he doesn't have the Force. This real-world equivalent is this guy that can block, like, a pistol with a sword. That's not
fast.
It's not a common talent. And yeah, it's because of the cybernetics, but also imagine that hand-eye coordination to be able to like properly deflect. He's not messing around.
Yeah.
When we have moments to have Grievous in his true like mode, like when he's not up against Jedi with plot armor, he is a force to be reckoned with. Like, he may not have the force, but he is a force of his own. And that is why I need to see more canonical Grievous content, because here's the thing, like, he is in his prime during the Clone Wars, he was the boogeyman of the CIS.
Yep.
You know, like, Republic propaganda posed this guy as like the guy that hides under your bed. They and even afterwards, it wasn't even Dooku that was pinned for it all. It was Grievous. Like, Palpatine was like, yeah, Grievous is trying to rise all the separatists up and destroy the Republic. It's this monster, right? And that's exactly what he was.
Yeah.
He wasn't all of those things just for being a wuss. So I think
Yeah.
he is a lot more powerful and imposing than people give him credit for. Yes, he loses a lot in a children's TV show, but he did not survive that long and collect that many lightsabers for being a chump. So yeah, Grievous is my favorite Star Wars villain, and it's not because of his complexity, really. It's because when I was a kid, I always loved Grievous. Grievous was meant to sell toys, and you bet yourself that I bought every single one of them.
Oh,
because it's a cyborg with 4 lightsabers. It's literally just the same thing with Maul when he takes out the double-bladed lightsaber, and everyone's like, "Whoa, no way!" They just increase it, you know.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's extremely cool, like, toy marketing, but it's like his motives and everything, and again, being that allegory or that comparison to Vader, where, like, you know, Maul is the rage, and then, you know, Dooku is the fallen Jedi, and then Grievous is the technological terror. Where, like, you know, and then combine all three and you get Anakin, you get Vader, right? Like, you get the cyborg fueled by rage, hatred for the Jedi. There you go. That, like, and that was what Lucas always was trying to do with that character. But there's still a lot we need to get with Grievous. Still a lot of stuff we could explore. And here's the thing, to further back up your point, is like, anytime we see Grievous fighting characters that are not required to live, he trumps them every time. Like, whether it's Mandalorians,
they go out of their way.
Yes, like,
to make it a point.
Like clones, Mandalorians, Night Sisters, Gungans, you name it, he's taking them out with ease, right? Yep. The thing is the most of the time that you see him, he's fighting Obi-Wan and Anakin and Ahsoka, like all these other characters that it's like they have to live. Yeah. So, you know, you gotta give him some grace, and that's the same thing. Like, for context, you mentioned Boba Fett last week. I went through a big phase where I was like, Boba Fett is stupid, man. I was like, what is he? He doesn't do anything, you know. Like, because in the original trilogy, Boba Fett doesn't really do anything. But it's the same thing. It's because he's all like in the movies, he's only interacting with characters that have to live, right? Yeah. But then you see him in comics, in books, in video games. Anybody that's not a main character, anybody who isn't Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Leia and Chewbacca, all them, he's like destroying. Like, he is the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy. Like, you know, it's a thing of like, they just don't show you all the time, which I know is like the rule of thumb is like show, don't tell. But we mentioned it last week. I'm not going to say spoilers again, but for Jedi Survivor and that side quest, they show you that Boba Fett ain't messing around by the way, I'm forgetting her name, the way she reacts to Boba.
Cage, I believe.
Something like that. Yeah. I think if it's not Cage, it's very close to that. She's the same species as Kit Fisto, which I'm also blanking on what his species is called. But
Nautilin?
Nautilin, yeah. Is it Cage?
It is Cage. Cage Vanda.
Okay. Cage Vanda, yep. Man, she sucks. Anyway. First she was cool, and then she sucks.
Boba came to collect.
He did.
He's like, Cal, I'm not here for you, man. But I might be.
And I respect it. But that was if you want our thoughts on Boba Fett, go back to last week's episode if you missed it. It's a good discussion there. But yes, I love your passion for General Grievous, and it's always made me appreciate those characters that don't always have a lot of screen time, but either they're cool or imposing, or again have this really cool lore that you don't fully know about. Like most people don't know the backstory of General Grievous. So like, or just they're just like, oh yeah, he's just the villain. But he's like, he's
just the guy.
Yeah. And I certainly have my own characters. Do I have any characters on my list right now that represent that? I have one character that I would say is pretty close to that vein. It's a little different, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying. He will likely be in kind of towards the end. Is there anything left that you would like to say about Sir Grievous before I move on to one of my favorite characters?
I need more Grievous content. Thank you very much.
Well spoken. Well said. I agree. All right. I'm going a character that I have dawdled too long to not speak about.
Okay.
That is Ben Solo.
Oh, okay.
We haven't really gotten to the sequel stuff yet. So here, and I may not say anything that hasn't been said before by anybody out on the Star Wars internet spectrum, but here's the thing about Ben Solo. For some context, and this does double as Kylo Ren. I'm not saying just the Ben Solo persona and that I don't like the Kylo Ren persona. I mean both. And the same thing is like if we ever mention Anakin or Vader, like yes, Anakin and Vader are like two entities, but it's the same person, like it's a more metaphorical sense. So anyway, when I say Ben Solo, that also implies Kylo Ren. I do like Kylo Ren. Simply put, he's the best character in the sequels. Like he's
hands down.
And even people who adamantly hate the sequels, they make them physically gag whenever you even hear them spoken, people will still agree that Ben Solo is the most compelling character in the sequels.
Yeah, I think definitely like front to back his story
is the most complete, I would say.
Most compelling.
Now, I wouldn't say it is like anything that surpasses the prequels or the originals, but in terms of non-legacy characters, his character really, really stands out. So for context, when The Force Awakens came out, Kylo Ren was whatever to me. Like I was like, yeah, it was weird to me because I didn't always like the idea of him being pulled to the light side. I think that was interesting, but it was always kind of like, oh, he's trying to be a bad boy, but he's not, and then he's throwing tantrums all the time. I was like, he looks cool, the lightsaber is cool, but like, you're kind of a whiny baby, like, and like
that was his biggest flack when The Force Awakens came out. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's just a baby Vader. Like he's just so angry."
Yeah, like he's a wannabe Vader, right?
Yeah.
It was not until The Last Jedi that I actually really started to like his character. That movie, I was like, "Oh, all right, like I'm liking where they're going." That's the one. Like, if I had to choose one thing that I just absolutely love in that movie, it's Kylo Ren. From beginning to end, I'm like, his arc is so cool to me because, like, especially the moment that really was like the turning point there was 2 points specifically. One, when he destroys the helmet. Love that decision.
Gonna mention that. That's
so good. I wish they stuck with that decision, by the way. Whatever.
I'm not gonna get into this.
No,
I'm not gonna get into this.
And then the other scene is him killing Snoke. Like people sometimes are like, oh, they should have kept Snoke through the whole thing. I loved the twist of them. Like, now they should have explained Snoke a little bit more in terms of what he was, but Ben Solo or Kylo Ren killing Snoke, I was like, that is so cool. Like that's a really good, in my opinion, subversion of expectations.
Absolutely wild scene. Yeah, that was the entire movie, honestly, was subverting expectations. I mean, that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
But, like, I think you might not agree with me on this. I think The Last Jedi is probably the best interpretation of Kylo Ren's character.
I agree. Yeah.
I think that is when he is at his most compelling. I think that's his best movie.
It's
sure.
Absolutely that is why I watched that. I don't rewatch that movie a ton, but that's why I watched that movie. Is I was like, it's for the Kylo Rey dynamic. It's really good. And here's another key scene that was kind of an honorable mention. I still like he doesn't kill Leia. He doesn't blow up Leia. Like you're like, okay, well, he's killed Han. He's gonna kill Leia at this point. He's transitioned to that point. And I like the idea of like when he killed Han, in that moment he was fully consumed by the dark side. But like you can tell in The Last Jedi, like he's still like, did he really want to do that? No, he kind of did it because he felt like he had to, right?
He forced himself to do it.
Right. And so when you see Leia, like the decision of him about to, fire those missiles, and he lets go, and then the reaction on his face when the troopers do shoot the missiles, and you think for that little small bit that Leia is dead, you can tell like he is not okay from that. And it's just a really good moment, like you said. His character is super compelling. Him becoming the supreme leader, and like his hatred towards Luke, because that's the thing, is if we're going really, that's my one critique with his character, is they don't always make it fully clear what his motivations are. But I like that that he wasn't just like, a lot of his anger is fueled towards Luke. And it makes sense. Now people will go out of context and be like, oh, Luke tried to kill his nephew, and it's like, the way they describe it, like, please go rewatch it again. Like, I'm not defending the sequels, but I will defend the scene. I was like, I think it would have been night and day if he had not ignited his saber. Like,
it was the ignition of the lightsaber.
Because Luke said it passed like a fleeting shadow. That's the key thing, right? It was a brief thought, a blink and you miss it, but it was enough for him to press that button on his saber and Ben to be like, I'm all right. Like I'm doing this. It should have been more explained throughout the trilogy, but I digress. Now here is a possibly hot take. Other than him rebuilding the mask, I love his character in Rise of Skywalker. I'm a big fan. They don't make him the tantrum guy anymore. He's kind of this blend of The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. Oh, she didn't do the helmet thing, but he's the supreme leader, and I like the idea of like, dude, the opening of Rise of Skywalker with Mustafar, and then him going to Exegol and finding Palpatine. It's, other than Revenge of the Sith, my favorite opening in any Star Wars movie ever, because it's just that cool to me. Like, I was like, this is what I'm watching this movie for.
It was design wise, it was sick.
Very
I think
cool.
I think the whole idea around it, like the spectacle, it was very entertaining.
Yeah, I like I really liked that sort of stuff in it, but then like he would have killed Palpatine. Like he did not care that Palpatine was alive. Like he aims the lightsaber, and he was like the scene of he's like Palpatine's talking to Kylo, and he's like I am every voice you have ever heard inside your head. Like the transition of Snoke to
Palpatine Snoke Vader.
Yes, Palpatine Snoke Vader, which is like awesome. I was like, man, they're doing a really good job on selling me on the fact that Palpatine's coming back, and then they don't later on. But anyway,
he could have. You're right. He could have murked him right there. Palpatine was a vegetable at that time.
He really could have. What he does is he uses that leverage against Rey, which I think is really cool. But I mean, for me, the hot take is that Ben Solo was always meant to come back to the light side. I absolutely hate the idea that he should have stayed to the dark side and he should have died that way. What a disrespect to, first of all, the message of Star Wars, but the lineage of the Skywalkers. Luke Skywalker makes it. If Luke Skywalker can save Darth Vader, the most evil guy in the galaxy, he can surely save his nephew, who's been in the dark side for a fraction of the time, all right?
Right.
The scene that is a direct echo, and I've explained this to you before, like, I don't think people quite get this, because it's not very clear. But here's my take on it. Leia using her dying breath, her dying energy to project this vision, to unlock this memory, however you want to interpret it. It doesn't need to be specified in detail, of Han Solo, to bring back to bring him back to the light. And that just direct echo from The Force Awakens to The Rise of Skywalker of them, a parallel, if you will, to their conversation, and him throwing out the lightsaber and him turning around and Han is gone. It does not fail to make me tear up every single time.
It's a very emotional scene. I think it's a great moment for the character, even though, like I wish things had happened differently for his character. If I were to change one thing, I would change, the fact that he died. That is
a thing I was gonna get to.
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to take that from you.
No, it's okay, because we've both said this before. Yeah, like when he gets to be Ben Solo, when Adam Driver gets to be Ben Solo, it really shows. Now that being said, he should have had more dialogue. The only thing that he says is "ow." Weird. And I but like getting to see him like, oh, this is Jedi Ben, this is the son of Han Solo, the grandson of Darth Vader, the nephew of Luke Skywalker, and the son of Leia Organa. Dude, what a freaking lineage, man. And you see it in the way he fights, in the way he acts, every little mannerism. It is a amalgamation of all of those characters, all wrapped up in a nice little bow, and it sets, that is like genuinely like my favorite part of that movie. Now when we get to his
and then they killed him off.
they do kill him off. Now that being said, I think more people I'm probably someone who I don't have as much beef about killing him off as maybe others do.
Makes me so mad.
Really?
Makes me so mad. Yeah, because it's funny because I am less mad about the idea of him staying in the dark side.
Dude.
And we can talk about this like in our next potential
possibly
episode.
Yeah.
But like it makes me so mad that he died, because we are once again beset with a situation where a villain that turned to the light side does not live up to the consequences of their actions. But also I think that just this idea of a dyad, like two, has always been set up. And so the idea of him and Rey creating this new order together, for, Force users, I think that would have just been so much more compelling. But now she has to do it alone. And don't get me wrong, I love Rey. I think Rey's a great character. She is a very entertaining protagonist. I love, she's great. But I think her character is accentuated with the dyad with Ben. I think them together, like as a dyad, not really relationship wise, but as a dyad, they're both very interesting together. And to kill him off after making him so much more interesting, not a good idea. I don't think his death served much of a purpose. I mean,
he brought Rey back to life.
He did, but I just don't feel like it was. I don't feel like that's how it should have gone.
So if you had to choose between one of them living, would you have chosen Ben Solo over Rey?
No, I'm not saying that. I just think, because I think Rey dying would probably be even worse.
Yeah, I don't
but
like that.
If I just don't think that either of them should have died. I don't think that a character death was necessary. A lot of times stories put character deaths in just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
I think narratively, like, yes, it could be said that is a good final act, is saving someone that he loved, right? And in a way, yeah, that's good. But I think it would have served more narrative relevance for him and Rey to live together, because it was all about their joint partnership that is supposed to bring about this new era.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know. It upsets me that he died.
That's the thing that I mean, I don't disagree. I just don't know how they would have done it. What do you mean? Like, how would he have lived? Like, there's like with the way the Force essence transferred. Like she was dead. Rey was dead, and he gave the last of it. Like, he gave his life so that she could live.
But he would have lived if she didn't die. Like, if they had just not.
Are you just saying like skill issue, Ray?
No. What I'm saying is like, the only reason why she died, when we're talking narrative relevance, the only reason why she was killed off was for Ben to save her life. So if we want Ben to live, just don't kill Ray off. Keep them both alive.
I don't know if I agree with that. Because
What do
like
you, what's
she
not
took
to agree? I don't get it.
she took the full force of rejuvenated Palp's lightning and blasted it back at him after already being like pounded down. Like,
Yes, but like, I'm not saying that
his
she
lightning
shouldn't
took
have-
out an entire fleet of ships.
I think you're missing the point. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have died from that. I'm just saying she shouldn't have died.
Yeah.
Write a situation where she doesn't suffer something that causes her death, because then that causes Ben to have to die in order to save her life.
I get
That's
what
all
you're
I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. I just think that happening is really powerful. Like, I think Rey giving her life to take down Palpatine is a really powerful moment because he's this guy who just keeps coming back, and she's like, I'm finishing it. I'm disintegrating you. And so like her doing that and then her just kind of like stumbling over and falling, and Ben being like, you saved my life, now I'm gonna save yours, is a very powerful thing. And so like, yeah, they could have wrote a scenario where she didn't die, but then it just would have, in my opinion, it just would have felt kind of lame. Because it's like, okay, if you're gonna really hype up that Palpatine is like, he has come back into power after 30 years. Again, say what you I will say I have plenty of thoughts on how they did that. I don't like it. They did it in Fortnite, by the way. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Dude, shout out to Connor and Seth. They reminded me of that. But I digress. Is like, okay, if we're gonna really hype up like how he's been orchestrating and playing these strings as he does, to me, like, that is a very powerful Rey moment. Is her sacrificing, like, that's like a very Jedi thing. You know me. I'm the Kanan schmuck. Like, sacrificing for something is really cool to me.
Yeah.
So maybe they could have just written the entire scenario completely differently. I agree, but like taking it as it is, I guess I'm like, I like the idea of like, here's what I'll say. I think this is a weird thing, and maybe you'll agree with me. I don't think I would have minded Ben dying and bringing Rey back to life if she wasn't a Palpatine. That's a weird thing to say. I feel like the fact that like she is this nobody, she's this new age Skywalker, right? She's been taken under the wing by Han Solo for a brief time, trained a little bit by Luke, and mostly trained by Leia. 3 people, I mean, Han married into the Skywalker family, but like if she had just been a nobody and she had been this pure character this whole time, right? She's the new Luke Skywalker, right? She's the optimistic one. Ben Solo wasn't that, sadly.
Yeah.
The idea of him being like, you deserve to live more than I think is really powerful. But then the fact of her being a Palpatine kind of cheapens that. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's definitely another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
I think this whole conversation is another comment for another day. But
I'm eating it up, yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna go into it, but she should have stayed a nobody because the entire message of The Last Jedi is that anybody can be anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter where you come from. And Rise of Skywalker undoes that, like it does many things. Okay, so back to what we were saying.
Yep.
So in your preference, in your opinion, we are in the good timeline that he died.
Here's the thing. I think it was good that he died, but he needs to come back. Does that make sense? Like he is the one character that I'm like, listen, he is a Skywalker. Like the Skywalker bloodline just can't die. You even know me. I don't even mind Rey being like proclaiming herself as a Skywalker. It makes sense in my eyes. I just explained it. She's under the wing of Han Solo, trained by Luke, especially like she was basically like adopted by them. Would have been again more powerful if she was a nobody. I digress. I like the idea of the Force, the dyad idea of them being like, in a weird way, in a set of balance of like, well done, I grant you life again. Like,
man, you know what would be nuts?
What's that?
we have, and I'm gonna real quick. To anybody who hasn't seen Ahsoka yet, spoilers for Ahsoka in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In this next movie, we get a shot of like Ben waking up in the world between worlds. And he gets a chance to come back. It's the same. Yes. It's the same. That would be cool because it's like it's like you know, like Ahsoka is basically supposed to be the new daughter.
Get him and Hayden, bro.
Yeah,
like I'm telling you, man. He's just like hey, I imagine Hayden being like hello grandson, and he's like grandfather.
Darth Vader.
Yeah. Like that to me. That is like one of those things where it's like, you know, you're putting the patchwork on it or whatever. Like, you know, to me, that sounds really cool. Like that sounds more ideal than him just having lived the whole time. Because I've always pitched the idea of like, okay, what if he does come back? Finn and Rey are, let's say Rey trained Finn a little bit, right? With the help of some Force ghosts or some whatever, you know. And, you know, Finn probably not super fond of Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, you know, considering their
such an interesting plot point, like for them to butt heads, or you know, for there to just be weird tension between them.
Yeah, just because everyone's a Jedi doesn't mean they always like each other. We know this. Like, so the idea of like him showing up out of nowhere and Rey being like absolutely flabbergasted that Ben is somehow still alive, you know. And here's my reasoning why. You don't see him at the end of Rise of Skywalker as a Force ghost.
Right, yeah.
Why? Why do you not? If Luke and Leia are going to be there, it obviously makes sense that Han's not going to be there because like what Leia did was like more of like a projection, a memory.
Han being there was so weird.
It would be weird. Like it doesn't make sense. But Ben should have been there. If the implication is that in the final moments, Ben, you know, the reason he disappeared is because he was able to become a Force ghost.
Right.
Like
if they wanted to continue the like Return of the Jedi paradigm where Vader dies and then you see Anakin's Force Ghost later on, they would have done that. Mm-hmm. But according to the finale of Rise of Skywalker, Ben is somewhere else. We don't know where he is. Yes, he could be just very dead, but I just don't think, because if they really wanted to ham up like the idea of him dying, and like, you know, going back on what I said earlier, I'm not saying that like it's inherently a bad thing that he died. I just kind of prefer that it was done another way. But if they're going with this, like really trying to make it super powerful that he died and that it served a purpose for his character, then I think having him show up as a Force ghost at the end would make sense.
Right. But they didn't.
But he doesn't. He's not there. So I almost feel like that was a way for them to leave that open-ended.
I hope.
Like imagine at the end of this Rey movie that we're getting, he just shows up at the end. Like he's like, I'm alive, you know?
That would be insane.
Yeah, and then that like starts a new trilogy or something.
I'd love it. I'd eat it up, man.
Episode 10, baby. Here we come.
Like, I mean, maybe if it like, I hate how the I feel like I've said this word a lot today. I hate how the meta of Star Wars is like, let's like, oh, something crap came out, let's fix it. Like,
yeah,
you know, but like, or like, this didn't make sense, let's fix it. But at this point, it's kind of becoming part of the charm. So it's like, I know they like the end of the Skywalker saga, but like if they did a new trilogy and Rey, like, you know, Rey and Finn was kind of the first one, and then bam, they dropped don't do a post-credit scene. Keep that with Marvel and DC. Like, it's not a comic movie, but just the idea of them, like, you know, her entering the world between worlds, or like him showing up and like it's this like, you know, this bearded long-haired Ben, like, and she's like, Ben, and the movie ends like just cold, cool. And they're like, you know, that would be crazy to me. Like, I
could very well see that happening.
I mean, I'm worried that it won't happen because I'm gonna get my hopes up. But yeah, like, Adam Driver like is the type of guy, and so is Daisy Ridley. Like, they're even John Boyega. They care about characters, but like I can tell, like, Adam Driver, I don't think was disappointed with his character. Like, I've seen interviews and stuff, and even behind the scenes of Rise of Skywalker, he seemed to be pretty pleased with the.
Yeah, he got the best treatment, so I'd be surprised if he wasn't okay with it.
Yeah. So
I love how this has just turned into like our Rise of Skywalker retrospective. We're gonna
Wait.
repeat this conversation
Oh yeah.
later
Well,
on.
at least it's hyper fixated on Ben Solo because it kind of deserves
Right,
its
yeah.
own conversation in and of itself. But if we get to, let's say we get to 100 subscribers on YouTube, Cole and I will do our sequel trilogy retrospective. We will
Oh
do.
boy, that'll be something.
I'm stealing a note out of Connor and Seth. Again, good friends of you. If you guys are listening, I love you both. They're doing a Kenobi retrospective. They have very adamant disagreements on that. And I think you and I, we don't really disagree a ton on the sequels, but like even here right now, this is probably the most disagreement we've had about something in Star Wars in a while. And I'm not mad about it. Like I kind of like it.
No, it's interesting to finally have something to debate about.
Right. Yeah.
We never debate really about anything Star Wars. It's all just constant validation.
And honestly, like I don't mind it because it's like at the end of the day, like we're giving each other fresh perspectives, and we're not jerks about it. At least I'm trying not to be.
Apprenticeship, dude.
Dual apprenticeship, man. For fun fact, that was a running title for the Mortis FM before it was Mortis FM, but we're Mortis FM, baby. All right, I'm gonna move away from Ben Solo. I'm just gonna say one last thing because we got into a whole conversation about that. I love his character. I would love more of him in the way that we just discussed. And I think he definitely has the most interesting story out of the sequels. And when I watch the sequels, I watch it for him. That's all I got to say. He's a really cool character. More of him, please. Cole, who is your next character?
Man, I was really hoping that Grievous would be the character in the thumbnail for this episode, but now it has to be Ben.
I know.
After this conversation, it has to be Ben now.
I'm so sorry. I could do two.
So do you want me to talk about you want me to bring up a character like that we'll be talking heavy about, or just one that we'll go through?
You got to tell me a character that like you will be unsatisfied if you do not speak about them more, like in a in-depth context, because I have some characters that I don't need to speak super in-depth about. I currently have, if we can get to it, 3 characters that I really want to talk heavily about. We don't have to, but I'd like to.
There's a lot of characters that I could just like nix, or like at the end just go like, oh, this that.
That's kind of the plan. Yeah.
So
we're at 54 minutes, not even, because we had to cut out the beginning. We've got time.
Okay, so I'm gonna say a character that I bet, or I don't know if I'm willing to bet, but you might not have expected me to say, because I don't typically talk about this character. Character on my list is R2D2.
Really?
Yes.
You're an R2D2 guy?
Yeah, actually. And it's weird because I have only just recently realized that I am. Now, keep in mind, I've always been about droids. I'm looking at the camera right now. Mm-hmm. I'm your droid guy, you know? If I could have a droid, if I could be a droid, you got it.
He could rename his first name, it'd be droid.
It would be HK47.
Is that why 47 is your favorite number? I just realized that.
No, it is just amazingly coincidental.
That's great.
Okay, brief tangent. 47 is my favorite number. The reason why is when I first got Halo 3, and I booted it up for the first time. When you boot up that game, Halo 3 gives you a call tag, like a little call sign, and it's a letter and then 2 numbers, or different iterations of that. Mine was C47, and I was like, oh, Cole 47. And so immediately I have always stuck with the number 47, and it just so happens that it's also my lucky number. Anytime the number 47 pops up, I'm like, oh, something good's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I just coincidentally loved HK47.
My favorite firearm.
Yeah. I just coincidentally love HK47. It had nothing to do with the fact that he has my favorite number. But okay. Anyway, I've always been about droids. Even as a kid, I thought R2D2 was cool, but I never really appreciated him. We always kind of take these characters for granted, I think.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think R2D2 is especially taken for granted, and also C3PO. Like, I love C3PO, but like, I'm gonna put the spotlight on R2 here. R2 is R2 and C3PO are like the one consistency throughout all of Star Wars. And I think out of the two of them, R2D2 is the poster boy. You know, everybody looks at R2, and even if they don't know his name, they know where he's from. You know, like they know who he is. And he is like he is this mixture of he is this mixture of a little puppy dog, a murder hobo, and like technological master, and also like the guy that's running the show. R2D2 is the main protagonist, don't at me.
The definition of like unsung hero.
Quite literally, R2D2 does so much of the work. If it wasn't for R2, like, the protagonist of every trilogy would be dead a million times over. R2D2 is like the greatest war hero of all time. And I think he's also like pretty, in Star Wars wise, he's pretty much the original droid. Like, yes, him and C-3PO were, you know, came out at the same time, and I think you see them, I think you might see R2 first.
You do. They're escaping Naboo, and are you talking about in the original trilogy?
I'm talking about original trilogy. Do you see them both walking in the Tantive 4?
I think it's simultaneously.
At the same time.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: like, even with C-3PO, we had this level of familiarity because he spoke Basic, like he speaks English, and so it's, you know, you understand him. There's a level of relatability there. But with R2, you can't understand anything he says. C-3PO and all of the characters translate for you by going like, "Go back," or, you know, like immediately responding to what he says. So having this little robot that just makes beeps, and all you can interpret from his personality is what people say that he says, and also the little actions that he does, and just how individualistic, independent, and gung-ho like this droid is. Like, convincing Luke to take off his restraining bolt and then going out into the Junlin wastes on his own in the middle of the night.
What a guy.
Yeah, and then C-3PO telling him that he's gonna go another way, and R2 just keeps going. He's like, dude,
fine,
I'm
man.
done with. And here's the thing too, like, knowing their backstory, R2 is like, he's gonna come back. I know he is. R2 runs the show, and when we were
taking care of business, man.
Yeah, when we were putting these lists together, I was like, I don't think I sing R2's praises enough. And
nobody does, man.
Yeah,
he's great.
Despite him being this poster boy of Star Wars, despite everybody having a little R2 somewhere, I don't think he's talked about enough. And I mean, honestly, what else is there to say? R2 is just such a lovely character. He's so lovable, and he's incredible, and you know, he just has so many great qualities that if they were to go with the original script of Episode 8 where he dies, I would have been so upset.
Wait, what?
Yeah, or Episode 9, sorry.
What?
Yeah, there was I think it was Colin Trevorrow's like script that like he dies, and there's like a scene where C-3PO mourns him, you know.
I'm sorry, man. Back onto this topic. I don't care what you say. The Colin Trevorrow script of The Duel of the Fates is booty cheeks, bro. Like, it's not good. There's some cool stuff in there. It ain't good, man. Anyway.
Yeah.
Love R2D2.
Yeah, yeah. I think the only things I like about that script is just the reusage of Coruscant.
Yeah.
And Kylo Ren going to, you know, the Jedi Temple and going to like the Sith Temple beneath that. I think that's really cool. Was
it in that version? You're talking about the...
Man, how many versions were there?
Okay, so for context, in Rise of Skywalker, getting back on the Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, here we go.
the original, one of the concept openings was that he was going to go to Coruscant. And the reason was that, which I love this explanation, is that the capital was moved to Osnian Prime because Coruscant basically became a desolate wasteland. And it was like, there was basically these giant like dust storms or something that were happening where like the environment became uninhabitable or just not very sustainable. So they moved the capital to Osnian Prime, which makes sense why it got destroyed. I actually really like that. that explanation, because you're like, whoa, what happened to Coruscant, man? Like it's a really cool, like, let's go back and find out. And he was gonna go, and yes, there is a ancient Sith temple underneath the Jedi temple. This was stuff that was explained in like comics and everything. And Kylo, instead of going to Mustafar, was gonna go to Coruscant, and he was gonna find these like weird like hellhound things, and he was going to go to the temple and take this elevator down, and that was going to be where he found the Wayfinder, not on Mustafar.
I just think that would have been so cool.
I agree. I like the Mustafar opening, but I think that is cooler. I think that feels more legacy, that feels more connected. It's a little tease there. But in Duel of the Fates, Coruscant was just going to be one of the main planets.
It also just taps more into the mystical side of Star Wars, which I think is very much underused.
It's why we liked Ahsoka so much.
Yeah, it's why we're called Mortis FM. I mean, we love the mystical side of Star Wars, but
I've been really embracing it lately. Yeah.
Anyway, R2D2 is a great character.
We somehow got back to Rise of Skywalker and Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Kylo Ren's getting bigger on that thumbnail.
It should be called Mortis FM, a Star Wars tangent podcast.
Dude, we do it all the time.
I think it's okay though. I think that's what makes it unique. Yeah. So, right. Honestly, like, and Grayson, any closing thoughts about R2D2 that I haven't given you the chance to say because I just kept talking?
Two things. First thing, that is my final statement, and then one that's a postscript. R2D2 is the one character that I was like, listen, if I had to take one character with me to be like, you live in Star Wars, who is with you now? Honestly, I could take a ton of characters for their power levels or whatever. I don't care. I'm taking R2D2 because I know I am in good hands. Because
that's such a good choice.
Right, like I was like, I could take Darth Vader, but like, well, he probably would kill me. Palpatine probably also kill me in my sleep. Like, you know.
Hey, why would you want to live with Palpatine anyway? Dude, guy probably stinks.
Yeah, dude, you know he smells. But R2D2 is like, first of all, he's a friend, but he's not boring. He's super capable, utilitarian, intelligent. What isn't R2D2, man? He's like the Chuck Norris of droids, dude. Like
that's such a perfect way to sum that all up.
I love it. The second thing is that my dad's text tone for me is R2D2 screaming.
That's fantastic. I am hoping for your dad's sake that you don't text him all that frequently, because
when I do, he's not around. But I don't think he cares. It's been like that for like a decade.
That's really great. R2 screaming. Yeah. I feel like that's a point we haven't brought up enough. Like R2 just screaming at the top of his lungs.
It's amazing.
It's funny too, because like his personality is so like I'm going to curb stomp anyone in my path, but he also screams louder than anyone else, except for maybe C-3PO that one time against the Tuskens.
Yeah.
But yeah, R2's great. I just had to bring him up. And honestly, I'm really glad that I did, because like even after talking about him now, I'm just like, dude, I love R2 even more. I want me a little R2.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there would not be as like the droid template if not for R2, you know.
Yes.
And that's to say also with 3PO, but like, you know, your BDs and your T3s, and I mean literally any astromech, Chopper. Come on, like all those characters. R2, he was the first.
R2 is the best advertisement for an astromech droid that one could ever get. I mean, talk about like product reliability. I mean, in terms of models, R2's like sequels, he's pretty old, man. Like the R2s have pretty much been phased out.
Dude, R2's luck stat is like insanely high. Like,
not to mention he stays in pristine condition.
Yeah, dude. Well, because I'm thinking of like, you know, his first appearance in the Phantom Menace, and it's like all the other astromech droids just get obliterated, and yet he is always on the king of the hill.
Yeah, never even moved either on that ship. Like he just popped out, did what he was doing. It still amazes me how R2's mind has still not been wiped. So at the time of the sequel trilogy, he has Republic, probably most definitely CIS, Rebel and Imperial all data plans and structures inside that little cranium of his.
Yeah,
Like, how many terabytes has that boy got on there?
bro.
Um,
Limitless capacity on there.
yeah.
It's interesting because in Revenge of the Sith, he says like wipe both of. Does he just say wipe the protocol droids?
Wipe the protocol droids. He says, and have the protocol droids mind wiped.
Yeah, that's true. I guess because you have to, because he knew who Ben was. So,
Yeah, I don't think they.
Ben didn't remember him.
Yeah, I don't think they. It's always like it's because they underestimate an astromech droid. If they knew the rolling nuclear warhead that is R2D2, they would have wiped it clean, like clean slate.
Dude.
The
other droids got nothing on R2D2.
I wonder what R2 told C-3PO like when his mind was wiped. He's like, "Hello, you are my servant."
Yeah. It's also funny because it's like 3PO got wiped again in Rise of Skywalker, and then R2 was like, I got a backup thing. Like, it's funny. He was prepared this time, you know?
Did he say that?
What do you mean?
Did he say I have a backup?
Well, I mean, that's how 3PO gets his memory
Right, he just saved a backup anyway.
Yeah, he was like, I got you, bro.
Wow, that's great, because now it makes me realize that he did that intentionally in case it happened again.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to bet that even though like they butt heads, like R2 was probably really upset that 3PO's mind got wiped in episode 3.
Friends.
Yeah, like so I think after that he was like, okay, I'm gonna keep a storage of this guy's memory. Probably didn't even tell C-3PO he did it.
No, not at all. 3PO would have said something. So yeah, it's cool. Say what you will about this line. Why do we keep bringing up Rise of Skywalker in this episode? I don't know, but the line that was reused of Leia saying "Never underestimate a droid."
Yes,
there you go.
Never
R2D2.
underestimate a droid. Never.
You shouldn't. It's a good line.
So, Grayson, I handle the reins to you.
I just said her, Leia Organa. That is my character that I'm speaking.
They're perfect choice.
Yes.
Perfect segue. There we go.
Listen, Leia is kind of the gold standard of like what, strong female lead means. And that is only more emphasized by Carrie Fisher as just a force of nature. May she rest in peace. When she passed away, that was the first celebrity death that like genuinely I was sad for days.
I remember specifically when it happened. I remember where I was, how I felt. Yeah.
I couldn't quite shake why I was so sad, because like growing up, like this is gonna sound bad, but like Leia wasn't one of my favorite characters. I liked Leia, but like, I was a little boy. Like I liked guys with lightsabers and blasters and stuff.
Yeah.
You wisen up as you get older. At least you should. That's the whole point of aging. And Leia,
get to it.
Yeah, come on, guys, let's get it. But no, Leia. Here, if I really had to sum it up, there is a line. Someone asked Carrie Fisher at an interview, and I will have to pull up the clip at some point. I'd pull it up now if it wasn't enough time. But basically, she's at a con, and she's a little girl is asking Carrie Fisher a question or something like that, or maybe it was somebody else, and so they ask like why she was like wearing a bikini in Return of the Jedi, and she was like, "Will you tell your daughter that it was because this fat space slug put me in it, and because he did that, I choked him, and I got away." And I was like, that is Leia right there, dude. Like that is what describes Leia. Of like, I was like, yes, she is drop dead gorgeous, and she is fierce, and she is powerful. Like, listen, every guy, like every straight person, or like every person who's attracted to girls, their awakening was Leia in a bikini.
Their awakening.
Yeah, but like I was
there.
Like,
there has been an awakening.
You felt it. But like, yeah, she kills Jabba the Hutt. She is crucial in that whole operation of the opening of Return of the Jedi happening. Like, she's the first one when they go save her on the Death Star to grab a blaster and to start shooting. She is not just a princess, she's a general. that like to me.
Pardon my words here. She's the most badass out of the Millennium Falcon crew.
Yeah,
Like
dude,
she basically calls the shots.
there's a reason why Yoda wanted to train her as a Jedi and not Luke.
Yeah,
She
he's like, "Man,
is more. I'm
this
sorry.
guy-"
I mean, of course, she has a ton of her mother in her. But she's got a lot of Anakin in her. Like
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
more than Luke does, at least initially. You know, like they have obviously like they both have commonalities, but like Leia is like the go get 'em attitude, and that is why. Shout out to you, Will. If you're listening right now, I know how much you love her, but Jedi Leia is works for me, and I like
Yes.
again back to Rise of Skywalker. Why is this a Rise of Skywalker episode? Just her like that tease of her being a Jedi, and then being like you know what, like you find out that she actually passed on her Jedi training, was like, I'm not going to be a Jedi anymore. I'm going to be a senator. I'm going to fight for good. You know,
She kicked Luke's ass too. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, who's to say like who would have like won the duel if they had really been like fighting to the death? But like she knocked that boy down. She was
Yep.
like, all right, well, I think I've reached the zenith here of Master Skywalker. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
back off to the Senate. But it reminds me of, because when you said that she has more of her dad in her, she has more Anakin in. There's this art piece, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's basically like a what if scenario. There's been a lot of those where you see Padme with Luke, where Luke is dressed in like a senatorial outfit.
Yep.
And like diplomatic garb, but then you see a Jedi Leia with Anakin.
Yep.
And I just love that art so much. I'm not sure how well Luke would have fared in a diplomatic atmosphere. At first, when I thought about it, I was like, man, he's gonna get trumped out. But like, he's always been like a mediator character.
He's a
always trying to
diplomat.
Yeah, he is a diplomat. Always
Greetings,
trying to find the good
exalted
in
one.
people. Yes, yeah, and I
That's
think
very Padme-like right there.
yeah, like they both exhibit great traits of their parents. Leia is such a fantastic character, and like you, I really didn't have as much of an appreciation for her until I got older. Like when I was a kid playing Lego Star Wars, I never wanted to play as Leia. You know,
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I always wanted to play as oh man, what's his name?
Captain Panaka.
No, not Panaka.
I said different movies.
Captain Antilles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was, because like in the in the Tantive 4 like levels, you know, like Antilles, I was like, oh, that's cool, but like for you know, I was a little dude. I was like,
Yeah.
ew, like girls, you know. But like you appreciate her so much more, and I cannot state the level of majesty I felt when I saw the celebration like dress at Star Wars Celebration, like the victory, what is it called, triumph room trophy moment in a New Hope.
What?
You know the dress that she wears at the end of A New Hope when they get all their medals?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What is that room called? What's that scene called? Like,
Oh, I just always called it like the victory
like
and celebration.
yeah, like victory celebration, right? So like the year that we went to Celebration for the first time, 2017, like just almost immediately walking in, you see the dress that Leia wore during that scene. And I just remembered I took a picture of it. I remember standing there going like, wow, this is awesome. And it just kind of, you know, of course at the time it was very upsetting given the fact that she had, you know, only just recently passed. But yeah, it was
she passed about 4 months prior. Also,
yeah, it was
correct. I'm sorry. Victory and Celebration is Return of the Jedi. It's the throne room and end theme.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to say throne room, but I was like,
Yeah.
why am I
That
feel
feel-
like it's
that
not
feels-
a throne room?
Yeah, throne room feels more Sith. Feels more like Palpatine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, she
I actually don't remember that
amazing.
dress being there. That's crazy that you remember that.
Yeah, it was it was in a case. I'll send you the picture.
Okay.
It was just so cool.
Yeah.
In fact,
And they even had I thought you were going to mention they did a tribute video at that celebration, and I remember
they did
watching
do
it
a
when they
tribute
first.
video as well.
I'll find a way to post that. I remember sitting there. It was just you and our mutual friend Jesse went off somewhere. That which happened kind of a lot, and
It did happen a lot.
and my dad and I were sitting there at the celebration stage, the one on the floor where we frequented, and they were streaming one of the panels, and up on the screen they showed the Leia tribute, or the Carrie Fisher tribute video, and I remember just weeping. Like I remember just standing there and being like, that was like some good closure for me. And it's like I never met Carrie Fisher in my life, but like,
Whoops. I'm gonna turn down the brightness a little bit.
you could have put it up in the computer and I could have shown it.
Now the brightness is too small. Oh yeah, I'll just send it to you on Discord.
Pull it up and present it. I'll let you. Yeah, whatever. That's fine too. But yeah, I remember sitting there and like I was tearing up, man. Like it was hard. And that was a really beautiful. I just remember feeling the grief in the room. Throughout the whole like people stopped in their tracks while they were shopping and stuff to watch that. And I was like, dude, Leia made such a monumental just impact on so many people's lives and so many young girls' lives, and even us. Like we were just stupid little boys when we watched Star Wars, and now like look at us, we're talking about the reverence that Leia has and that character and what Carrie Fisher did. It's incredible.
I mean, she was just such a strong force in the world, and like I'm not intending to use the pun there, but I mean, yeah, she absolutely was.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who also suffers from mental illness, Carrie Fisher, she had bipolar disorder and a slew of other things that she dealt with, and yet she was a superstar, right? She was a powerful force for good and for change, and she just had such a positive impact on not only the Star Wars community, but just the acting community and the world as a whole.
Yeah.
And so her loss was dearly felt across the galaxy,
Yeah.
And we miss her dearly. I feel like I honestly wonder what she would have to say about like certain events now, because she always had such a expression, like such a expressful prose.
Yes.
With everything that she said. Everything that she said, she meant it, and she was funny, and she was powerful. She did what she wanted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just miss her a lot. And I mean, it was her that made the character. If it wasn't for her playing that character of Leia would be, in my opinion, a lot different. So
yeah. I mean, like she was kind of an unknown actor because that was what George was kind of going for at the time.
I think that was her breakthrough role.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. And she just did so much like after the fact, and she went through addiction, and wrote about that. And it was she just has a very powerful story. Dude, oh, there it is. I was struggling to pull up this picture, bro. I was like, dude, how do I get this on my files? Let me pull it up here real quick for anybody watching visually. Where did it go? I will have to. Can I do it? Sorry, guys. I don't really know how to do this. Share screen. Bam. Can I do a window? Yes, I can. Share. There we go. I did it. So
there we go.
You can see
Photo
it right
taken
there.
by yours truly.
Oh, you took that picture?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just found it on Google. That's hilarious.
No, I went through my album and I was like, oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw it, I was like, I got to take a picture of this. I mean, this is awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's because they had a couple of different things that were on display there, but
yeah, like remember the Scout Trooper armor?
Yeah, I remember that one.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Oh man,
I think
take me back.
I took that picture on my own, I believe. I think that was before I found you.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, I walked in and I was just just little man going like, I flew up, just like looking around, not really knowing where to go, and I saw that and I was like, I have to take a picture of this before I go somewhere.
Yeah.
So
many cool little display pieces and stuff, but yeah. Leia, she's one of the all-time greats. I mean, at this point we have covered almost all of the main cast of the original trilogy. So we've done Luke, we've done Han, we've done Leia, and we've done R2. So don't worry, we'll get the Chewbacca and 3PO for a little bit, but we can't not talk about them. But yeah, any parting words before I? We're actually kind of doing better on time than I thought we were. So I have a character that I would definitely like to talk about.
Isn't it my turn?
Yep, never mind. It's your turn. Well, for some reason, I thought you spoke about Leia. Yep, there you go.
Well, okay. Well, I wonder if this character we will have.
I think there are 3 characters that we could potentially have that mesh over.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and open this up for discussion because we can't not talk about it. In the tradition of original trilogy, Darth Vader.
I knew it. That was one of the 3.
Okay. I think I'm gonna flip this on its head, even though this character is on my list, since it's on both of our lists.
Mm-hmm.
Grayson, why don't you open with just why you love Darth Vader?
Dude, what is there not to say about Darth freaking Vader, bro? I mean, and I'm assuming we're also talking about, like we said earlier, like Anakin is folding into that, you know?
It's the same person.
Right.
It is.
Of course, we're going into the context of like Darth Vader is probably like more notable because that was what people first saw. But I mean, dude, the most iconic villain in film history ever.
Yes, he's the most iconic villain of all time. Yeah. I mean,
like, and I will be bold enough to say, Darth Vader is the main character of the Star Wars. He is the crux. Anakin and Vader is like, it's his story. George Lucas has said once you watch through all of 1 through 6, that is Darth Vader's story. Like that's the point. So I mean, if you hate him, I'm sorry, I guess. But like, why would you? There's a lot of Anakin haters out there. Like, to this day, they're like, oh, he's whatever. I'm like,
oh, he's so whiny.
Yeah, like, bro, he's the chosen one. Shut up. All right.
He can be as whiny as he wants. You shut up. Dude, like, Vader is iconic. Darth Vader is a household name. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was a kid, I loved. And I think I did this for multiple Halloweens. I suited up as Vader, and I, went to town.
Who didn't?
Who didn't suit up as Vader? Like it makes me think of that car commercial where like the little Vader is like pretending to like use the Force on the car, and the dad uses the keys and it goes like doop, doop. Yeah, he's so excited. Everybody loves Darth Vader. I mean, he and his story was profoundly expanded upon in the prequels, and whether you like them or not, I think it changed his character for the better. I mean, yes, he was a tragic villain in the original trilogy, but it turned him into a tragic hero, in the prequels. I think
he was the one that vanquished the Emperor Palpatine, like, yes. And like what we said with Luke. Obviously, that could not have been done by anybody else but Luke. But at the end of the day, it was not Luke who took out Palpatine; it was Vader.
Yeah, and having the prequels be tailored all around him and his descent into darkness, which for me as a kid, I was never used to watching a movie where the hero became the villain. I wasn't used to that. So for that, like I always didn't understand. I was like, why is this happening? And it made me sad, But I was always like, this is really cool because when I was a kid and I was introduced into Star Wars, I was introduced to all of it at the same time. I can't really say whether I saw original or prequels first. I don't really remember.
Isn't that so weird?
Yeah, I just remember I came into the world and Star Wars was there, like yeah. I have just always known Star Wars, right? So I can't really say which one I was introduced to first, but his Anakin story is just so intrinsic to what Star Wars is, which is, a space opera. It's tragic. It's
Some
powerful. And
I
it's
was about to
compelling.
say, I'm gonna take a note out of Connor and Seth's books. When they were doing their tier list, they were talking about Revenge of the Sith.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Vader, Anakin is modern mythology. Like
Yes,
it's like
yeah.
it is mythological characters or like Greek mythology in a nice little modern day space opera bow. You know,
Yeah.
like that's how I feel about Revenge of the Sith, right? It's like this just Odyssey, right? Not necessarily like the way the Odyssey's like this adventure, but you know, like it's this Greek tragedy, right?
If
Uh,
dude, if Star Wars was written, if the prequels were written, then I mean this could be a hot take, and I might be fishing for, like people to be mad at this. Who knows? It might be just asking for it at this point. If the prequels were written the exact same way, and yet they came out 300, 400 years ago in like Shakespearean play, they would be regarded as absolute masterpieces.
yep,
It's
yep,
I That's it. It's all about the releasing of the times and the critique and like the meta of the culture at the time.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about this more in a potential episode. But yeah, I mean, what, like you said, what is there left? What cannot be said about Vader, and what already hasn't been said?
Yeah.
I mean,
You have heard tons of people talk about Darth Vader. There's not much we can add to it other than like he is nothing less than legendary.
there is when Palpatine is in a room, like let's say Palpatine's appearance in Bad Batch season 2, right? Or in like when you see him again for the first time in Rise of Skywalker. Talking about Rise of Skywalker again. It is pun intended, palpable, right? Uh, like you feel his presence. But when Vader appears, namely at the end of Rogue One, you feel the fear. Like, yes, it is also palpable, but it is in the sense that you feel a visceral dread.
Mm-hmm.
Vader's presence, Vader's intimidating mystique around his character, the very aura that comes off of seeing him on the screen makes people come in to watch.
Mm-hmm.
That the mere mention, the rumor that Vader was going to be in Rogue One bought most of its seats. I'm willing to bet.
I found out recently that I think a lot of people actually really just like Rogue One because of the Vader scene, which I think
It's
is
true.
which is kind of funny because I love that scene, but I'm like, there's more to the movie than that scene that I really really like.
Let me keep in mind. Let me preface. I do not feel this way about Rogue One, but the way that it looked like when it came out at the time, according to other people, is that the Rogue One experience is going to a really like mediocre restaurant and having a bad appetizer, like iffy like main course, but but the dessert is phenomenal. Like it
Yeah.
is the best chocolate cake you've ever had. Now
Yeah.
that is not how I feel. I love Rogue
No,
One.
same.
I love Rogue One, absolutely. But yeah, the ending's definitely the icing on the cake, brother. Like Vader showing up, that scene is incredible. I have never not loved that scene, and it is it's one of my most memorable theater moments. I think my most memorable theater moment is The Force Awakens, like opening night.
Yo, man.
But yeah, man, Vader and Anakin's story just gets better. The way that he is, of course, touched upon in the prequels, that was up for debate, kind of controversial at the time, still a little bit today, but less so. That was a great way to establish what Anakin Skywalker was before he became Darth Vader. But then the way that his character is expounded upon in the Clone Wars television show, which fills in the cracks, which fixes, some of the things that people didn't like about the prequels all that much, makes the dark descent more believable.
Mhm.
And then now, spoilers for Ahsoka, kind of implies what I'm about to say.
I was about to say, if you don't know at this point.
If you don't know at this point, yeah. His appearance in Ahsoka is kind of the same way in Rogue One, where it is the icing on the cake. It kind of it's meant for Ahsoka, but it does a lot for Anakin's character arc. than I think people let on. Like, it does a
Yeah.
lot more for his character. And what's I think his name is Ashton Sherritt,
Yes.
Sherray
Yeah.
on Instagram. He had this excellent insight into the last scene of Ahsoka, where you're looking at Anakin as a Force ghost, watching Ahsoka walk away, and it plays a triumphant, heroic, hopeful iteration of the Imperial March, which is just such a nice little bow on Anakin's story there. If that's the last time we see Anakin Skywalker, I will be upset, but I will be satisfied, if that makes sense. Like, I'm okay with leaving it at that. I'm very all right with it. So yeah, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. He's a fantastic character. I love Anakin / Vader, the chosen one, the main character of Star Wars, basically.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Phenomenal insight by Ashton Sherritt. You gave us a follow, so shout out to you. I might try to make a little clip out of this, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, and then let's not forget Kenobi as well.
Right? Yes, I'm so sorry. Why did I forget about that? Oh, I
it's
feel like a fraud.
he's him, and I mean, you know, despite our issues with that show, him and Kenobi done very well in that show.
Absolutely phenomenal. I mean, oh man.
So
well, listen, let's just congratulate two people. One, James Earl Jones, and two, Hayden Christensen, for both their fantastic performances as, you know, Vader and Anakin respectively, and interchangeably for Hayden Christensen.
Yes.
I think that Hayden got way too much flack when the prequels came out at the time, and now he is strutting his stuff. This man is an actor. He understands the character. He loves the series. There's nobody else that's Vader, you know.
Yeah. He has cultivated that character so well, both him and James Earl Jones. Dude, like, just the contributions to that character's arc. And it just feels like every little bit that we get with his character, like, I just love. Like, there's very little Vader content. I mean, on a visual media spectrum, whether that be video games or TV shows or movies, there has not been a single appearance of him that I don't like. Like, there has never been a bad characterization of him. Like, there's a couple of things in, like, comics and stuff that I'm like, whatever. But that stuff isn't crucial or, like, required reading. It's like, to me, I'm like, everything that we have seen on screen with him is nothing but just absolutely perfect.
In terms of all of the Star Wars characters, it is so hard to not love Vader. It's so hard to not love when Vader is in a scene. Like, he's just kind of the, if something's going wrong in your Star Wars project, just put Vader in there, you know? That's it.
That's what people always are like, oh, like, just like you throw Vader in there, and it's like, listen, I love, like, to me, I like my dosages of Vader, but, like, you know, I mean, if there was a character that was like, if you had to think of Star Wars, usually people just think of Darth Vader. Like,
he's a character that is so iconic that it is in the studio's best interest to not abuse the usage of the character. I think that they should be very careful with how they use Vader in any projects going forward.
He's been in a lot.
He's been in a lot. Thankfully, all of it has been extremely relevant to his character. But if we ever see Vader, unless he is actually relevant to the plot, use him sparingly.
And I don't even mind if it's like quick little cameos, you know, like of him, like because that makes sense, right? Like, but like Rogue One, like he is kind of a cameo in that movie, but he's used really well.
He is. Yeah, they could have done that movie without him being in it.
But they
honestly,
did it really well.
If he just showed up as, I think it would have been better if he just showed up exclusively at the end, just to tie in Rogue One with A New Hope. But I'm still fine with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if Rogue One is kind of like the immediate prequel to A New Hope, Vader, like, and his quest of hunting down the Death Star plans, like, it literally transitions right into it. Makes sense, and I like it.
That's good. We like that.
We like
That's why
all right.
the next character on my list is Boss Nass.
Dude, I like me some Boss Nass. All right, I only have one of these characters. I don't need to talk super in depth about. We are kind of running low on time. So I'm gonna bring up one last character, and then after this character, we're gonna do a rapid fire. I will set the prerequisites of what the rapid fire thing is. But yeah, last character that I want to address, and even I don't think I'll be able to talk like a ton about him, but I need to talk about him because he's that important to me. Kyle Katarn from Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe.
All right.
You already knew I was going to talk about him, but I figured I'd,
I forgot.
Let's go. So Kyle Katarn was a character that, like, it's weird when the game. So for people who don't know, he is most notable in the Dark Forces and Jedi Knight games. He's like in every single one of those games, even like the spinoffs and stuff. He is a character that, like, when I was a kid, I was like, yeah, whatever, I don't really care. And then I realized as I got older, I was like, dude, Kyle Katarn is awesome because he was so associated with the memories I had of playing those games as a kid. Very same thing with Starkiller that I mentioned in our very first episode or something like that, maybe second episode, I don't remember. Very integral to my Star Wars experience of the lens that I viewed Star Wars in, and he was obviously the main character that I was playing as, and I really liked him. And he was the intro that I had into the expanded universe post Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
In that like 90s and 2000s era before the prequels of like him and Luke Skywalker were like two of the head honchos of the new Jedi Order. We keep referencing this dual apprenticeship thing. He had a dual apprenticeship with Mara Jade, who is also a very big character in Star Wars Legends. He's had a crazy arc. He was an Imperial officer, or first of all, he was a kind of similar to Luke. He was a farm boy, but then he turned into an Imperial officer, and then he defected and became a mercenary, and then he found out that his dad was actually the keeper of the Valley of the Jedi. He knew the secret to where it was at. He realized he had abilities in the Force. He goes through a journey that's really cool, although it's a little dated in terms of like what we knew about the Star Wars universe at the time. He then goes into this dual apprenticeship with Mara Jade. He then falls to the dark side. Mara Jade brings him back from the dark side. He cuts off his ties to the Force. He's like, after he fell to the dark side, he's like, I'm not doing that again. I'm done. I'm going back to being a mercenary. I'm never using the Force ever again. Really cool stuff. Eventually, through trials and tribulation, he goes back to being a Jedi for the wrong reasons, and then ultimately becomes a true Jedi actually through that. It's very interesting stuff. Go do yourself a favor. I've recapped all the way up till Jedi Outcast. Go play Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast. It's one of the best Star Wars games you'll ever play. Play it. The story will play. It's great. You got it, dude. You got it, man.
I still have to.
You can actually play it through Movie Duels. They like remastered it in a way where like you can basically like through Movie Duels you can combine your files with Outcast and Academy, and you can play like a new and refined version of Jedi Outcast. But
the gentleman's Jedi Outcast.
Yes, the remaster, if you will. But and then he becomes one of the main Jedi Masters of Luke's new temple. And it's awesome. Like he's just, and like, you know how much you and I, or audience, you know how much Cole and I love like the new Jedi Order stuff. But
it's
real good. But
what could have
been? What could have been, baby. But Kyle Katarn is, I mean, there's really not much else that I have to say other than like, I just love him. He's a comfort character for me. Has a lot of really cool backstory and lore. I love his personality. On my main lightsaber, he is the very first sound font because it has the sound effects from the video game, and I love that. So Kyle Katarn, if you're watching on video, I've got an action figure of him right there, that green box that says, sorry, I always get confused when I'm in a mirror thing, that has him from Dark Forces.
He was also kind of a big inspiration for Kanan, right?
Yeah. So, in a way, like he was kind of this like rogue kind of cowboy like Jedi, where like I'll use his guns and is not your traditional like.
He's got the Briar pistol, baby.
Dude, I've got the Briar pistol. Dude, I gotta find that. I gotta put that on my shelf. I'm running out of room. But yeah, like it was like basically, if you took Kyle Katarn and you took Rom Koda from The Force Unleashed and you combined them, you would get Kanan Jarrus. And so my love for Kyle was kind of directly influenced why I loved Kanan. I was like, oh, Kanan's a lot like Kyle Katarn. And then Kanan kind of became his own thing, which was really cool to me. But that's why I love Kyle Katarn. I know you probably don't have a ton to speak about him because I know more about him than you do, but I had to talk about him at least.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was gonna say, like, I don't have all that much to contribute to the subject just because, one, I haven't played his games and I don't know a lot about his character. However, I've always been aware of the existence of Kyle Katarn.
Yeah.
He is very much one of those that I like to affectionately refer to as a gateway character for Legends.
Yes.
Kind of like a gateway drug. And like it's he kind of fits in the same vein as the Darth Plagueis novel, where like that's like a very surface level Legends that a lot of people know about, you know. Mara Jade, Darth Plagueis novel, Darth Revan, and Kyle Katarn. That's like the surface level stuff. But I've always liked him as a character, and I have also for a long time associated him with you because I have known for a very long time, like basically ever since I've known you, that you're Kyle Katarn guy.
Yeah.
Especially since I recall us meeting that Kyle Katarn cosplayer at Star Wars Celebration that I still have that awesome picture of. Yeah, he's a great character. I want to see more of him. And by that, I need to play more stuff with him in it. It'd be really cool if he was canonized, but I doubt it will happen.
If even if he's not, that's okay, because then he won't get to become a Jedi Master in Luke's new temple.
Yeah. Maybe he will, and he'll like go on a vacation, and he comes back at the end of Rise of Skywalker again talking about that movie, and he's like, "What happened?"
Yeah, he's that meme of Donald Glover from Community, where he walks in the room and like he has the pizza and everything's on fire.
Yeah.
I guess in this context, everything would have been extinguished, and he's like, "What happened?"
Yeah. Okay, so we're at our lightning round situation because we have now reached an hour and 45 minutes and 18 seconds. And so
here's I'll pass it. We'll go back and forth. What I'm just gonna say is we're gonna do rapid fire. You can give 1-2 sentences, just really quick. Explain why you love the character as quick as you can, and we'll hop back and forth until we are done. I need to add 2 more characters though to this list because I mentioned them earlier and they weren't on my list. I need to do it. So yes, why don't we start with you?
Okay, so you said 1 to 2 sentences. Just keep it short.
Yeah, keep it brief. Just be like, here's why I like him. Bang, you know.
All right. Bouncing right off of Kyle Katarn for what you said. Character on my list was Mara Jade.
Great.
It's in the same situation where I don't know a lot about her with like Kyle, but she is one of my favorite Legends characters in that she is incredibly interesting. Emperor's Hand, assassin, what else? Like turned kind of vagabond, roguish type Jedi, and one of the best love interests for Luke. I really like their partnership together, and also purple lightsaber. I love purple lightsabers. Purple. So Mara Jade's great. I want to see more. I want to read more about her. I think she's fantastic.
Keep in the loop with Tales from the Archives, because a tentative book series that we want to cover is the Heir to the Empire trilogy, and she's very prominent in that.
You want to learn more about these characters? Read
with us. Tales from the Archives.
And with us, but also read. Yeah. Reading is good.
No, just read with us. I'm selfish.
Read with us. Sorry.
Well said. Good job keeping it brief. I'm gonna start off with Darth Maul, dude.
Hey.
I love Darth Maul. His characterization in the Clone Wars was super good. Obviously, he's kind of that cool guy character in the Phantom Menace, but Dave Filoni and Sam Witwer completely elevated that character to perfection, and like his art is just marvelous, and I always just love Darth Maul what he appears in. He's just a really standout, one of the best well-developed characters in Star Wars.
He has had one of the greatest character-wise redemption arcs in terms of media like I'm not saying that he's redeemed. I'm saying that his character is that like he
Yes.
went from being a one-off killed to one of Star Wars' greatest characters of all time. So
Oh yeah.
honestly, I'm a little upset that we don't get to talk about him in length, but that'll be another day.
Yeah. I'm sure we will.
Is that all you have to say about Mr. Maul?
Yep. On to you.
Character on my list is Cassian Andor.
Love him.
I love Cassian Andor, and it's kind of in the R2D2 situation when I didn't really realize that I did until I made this list. I think that out of all of the characters introduced in Rogue One, I find him to be the most compelling, and that is in no small part due to the Andor series. He is very compelling. I think he's one of the most fascinating characters in this Dark Times original trilogy era. And I cannot wait to see what season 2 does with him.
Yes. I completely agree. I remember when we watched Andor, I was like, dude, I mean, I always liked him in Rogue One. He was my favorite standout character in that movie. But then when Andor came out, I was like, dude, I really like Cassian. Like he's in like kind of that tentative top 10, you know?
Diego Luna.
Dude, what a gift. I love him.
What a gift.
You know, there's some people that really just don't like Cassian.
Why?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Just
To each their own.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a very fresh character, kind of in the same vein as Andor. We've talked a lot about him. Go back and listen to our Ahsoka reviews. That is Baylan Skoll.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
he's so great. Why didn't I have that on
Awesome.
my list?
It's I kept it. I was like, we haven't had him long enough, and we've talked so much about him in Ahsoka. But I mean, for context, he was our kind of favorite standout character in the show. That is in no small part to Ray Stevenson. He does a phenomenal contribution to that character. Again, may he rest in peace. And I cannot, whoever succeeds him, I cannot wait to see what happens with his character. Please give me more in Tales of the Jedi and his backstory, please. And thank you. That's all I have to say. Hurry.
Oh yeah, hurry. Okay. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay, going in the same vein of new characters, and also in the same vein of Andor, one of my new favorite Star Wars characters is Luthen Rael. I love Luthen so much. For one, I was immediately drawn by his name. I just really like the name Luthen. It's just so I like L names. I don't know why. But one of the things that I was most enamored with was his theme. His theme in Andor is so fantastic. When I was watching, and like Grayson, I gotta give you those tracks just to re-listen to them.
Yes, please
get
do.
that back in your head because it's so great. But when his character was introduced as like this mysterious showrunner, where like he's running these jobs, he has a very strict and to the point demeanor. Doesn't give an absolute damn about Cassius really. And he's got a kyber crystal necklace. What's all that about? But then it's revealed that he is an antique collector at Coruscant, and it's all a guise. Having that scene where he puts on the wig and gets in front of the mirror and pretends to be like this happy man of the people kind of guy, and then he immediately like slumps, and you see what the man is within. Stellan Skarsgård's performance, especially in his monologue scene, what do I sacrifice? Everything, dude. He is a like up and coming best, like one of my top 5 Star Wars characters. I love him so. Cannot wait to see him in season 2. Really hope that he gets touched on more. There you go.
Completely agreed. I'm psyched for his character in season 2. I want to hear those themes because I don't really remember it too much.
Him getting away from the tractor beam on the Fondor ship.
That's one of my favorite scenes like ever. It's so cool.
The Fondor is also my new favorite Star Wars ship.
Dude.
So
I love that ship. Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't actually make him one of your main characters to speak about, but you did it very well in a brief amount of time. So
I had so many that I wanted to talk about.
There's so many,
I had to get rid of I had to get through the OGs and like the big head honchos first.
Yeah, I agree with you. One character that's super easy to talk about for me is that is he Captain? Commander? bro, I'm blanking on his rank. It's Wolf.
Oh,
Love
Commander.
Commander. Um, dude, he's so cool, dude.
Wolf is great, man.
Yeah, like, and he's kind of that character for me where I'm like, he doesn't had a whole lot of content. He was in Bad Batch season 3, but
Oh, please,
um,
please,
I'm
please.
I'm so psyched for him. But
Oh wait,
he's
he is.
what? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, for a second I said please because I was like, oh man, I really hope he's in it, but he is, and I was like,
Yeah, you were the one
oh
who told me.
yeah, I forgot. I forgot. There's so much influx of Star Wars information.
Yes, there is.
And the
But
trailer's
he's
not
got an
official yet. Ooh.
awesome armor design. I love his helmet. I love that, like, the Neo style helmet with the wolf patterns.
Got the eye like missing.
The eye, yep, so good. The wolf pack, leader of the wolf pack, man. I mean, come on. I know it's Dave Filoni's little clone squadron, but they're awesome, and I love them. So,
Very well said. Well, in that vein, you know what I'm gonna say. Fives. I love
Man.
Fives. Fives is my personal favorite clone trooper. The dude, the story of Domino Squad throughout Clone Wars is one of those arcs outside of our main Star Wars cast that you follow along through the seasons. You see the Domino Squad fall down to 2, and then it's Echo and Fives, and then it ends up just being Fives, and then now we have a reversal where Fives is gone, but now we just have Echo. You know, I absolutely adore Fives. I think that out of all of the clones, he was very entertaining to watch, and especially due to his arc, his final arc, where he uncovers the secret of the inhibitor chip, the first person to do so, and tries to unveil the truth, but is killed for it. But if it wasn't for Fives, Rex would not have suspected, and therefore would not have made a file, and therefore Ahsoka probably would have died.
Yep.
And she wouldn't have been able to bring Rex back, and, you know, slew of different things. Rex wouldn't have started the clone rebellion, you know?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of stuff that would not have happened if it weren't for Fives.
Yep.
So
We're still seeing the repercussions of his sacrifice much later on, continuing all the way into Bad Batch. So, man, what a great soldier. Fives and all of Domino Squad. I love him. So
yeah.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT.
Well, keeping on the clone trend, this is not really one character. This is just a bunch of characters into one lump. Because they kind of are a unit. They quite literally are a unit. And that is Delta Squad.
Yeah, let's go.
I had Scorch on there, but then as I was thinking about it, and we had been talking within the past couple weeks about Delta Squad, I was like, listen, their characters rebound off of each other so well, like their archetypes and everything. I cannot just talk about one and not talk about the rest.
Right.
From Boss to Scorch to Seb to Fixer, they are all integral to a team, and they are genuinely, in my opinion, what I believe started the individualistic nature of the clones, at least in terms of like seeing that through that lens of like, oh, each of the clones have personalities, because we didn't really see that until, you know, the Clone Wars show, again, connecting to Fives and Wolf and Rex and all of those characters. All of the characters in Delta Squad were like, oh man, the clones are cool. Like, they've all got their own personalities.
Yeah.
Seb is kind of like the hardened kind of assassin, and Scorch is the wisecracker explosive, and Boss is kind of he's kind of like I described him as like the leader James Bond type, where he's kind of he's charismatic, played great by Tamora Morrison, and Fixer is kind of the serious,
he's the stickler, he's the by the book guy.
Yeah, but then you see those little teases of him, like, you know, he's not always like that. He's just trying to get the job done. You know, he's the baseline for the team. So yeah, they're all great characters, and I love that squadron, and I need to see more of them in canon, please.
Thank God they're canon, though. Just a little snippet of them in the Clone Wars. Thank God for that. And honestly, thank God for George Lucas, not just because of Star Wars, but cute, fun little tidbit in the Republic Commando development. They originally showed like the alpha to George, and it was just commandos with white armor, and George said, like, they need colors, they need personality. They need to have some personality. They need to be like different people. So that was George's idea. So thanks to him for that. We wouldn't have all the amazing 4 members of Delta Squad, and probably not Bad Batch, because Bad Batch, let's be real, spiritual successor.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah. So I have 2 characters left.
Okay. I have 5.
I wasn't sure how many we would get to, so I just kind of cut it down a little bit. My character is Qui-Gon Jinn.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got one covered.
There we go. I was wondering. I was like, why isn't Grayson saying Qui-Gon Jinn?
Yeah.
To keep it short and sweet, Qui-Gon Jinn is the Jedi's Jedi. Another situation where I didn't appreciate him a lot until I got older. When I was a kid, I didn't think all that much about him. I mean, I thought he was cool, but I didn't understand the subtle nuances behind his character and his greater understanding of the Force and the galaxy at large and just the way things should work. And I think his overall understanding of the universe is just something that needs to be commended. He's the first Force ghost, at least in terms of our canonical representation from what we know of. He learned it, he taught it to Yoda, and then taught it to Obi-Wan, and it's Qui-Gon, man. I love Qui-Gon.
Yeah. Qui-Gon is, for context, Qui-Gon is one of my favorite Jedi ever. If I had to choose another Jedi that wasn't Kanan, it'd be Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. You're like, why is he not saying it? I guess that's the loop and rail of my list, where I was like, I just didn't get time to.
Right. You only had so much time.
Right. So there's a lot of characters that I had to speak about, but yeah, Qui-Gon. I mean, Liam Neeson, love him. He has grown on me so much, and he just his philosophy and what it means to be a Jedi is so. I think when Phantom Menace came out, it was so slept on, and people just didn't understand. And it's only until now, especially with Clone Wars and Dave Filoni's understanding of Star Wars, like we understand what Qui-Gon is, his character is kind of supposed to be and what he represents. And so, phenomenal character. I want more young Qui-Gon content. Seeing him in Tales of the Jedi was such a treat.
And in Kenobi.
Yeah, dude. Like
nice little treat there.
Nice little tidbit. Yeah. So Qui-Gon is a very crucial character that does not. I mean, people have grown to love him a lot more, but he still doesn't get enough love. So.
Nope.
So yeah, love Qui-Gon.
Love Qui-Gon.
We cannot talk about The Apprentice without the Master, Count Dooku.
Oh yeah. Wait. Well, I was like, I don't even know. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he should have been one of your big guys.
He listen, I love Dooku, and especially in more recent years, but again, there's so many characters that we have to talk about.
Yeah, there's only so much we can talk about.
Here's what I'll say. I'll keep it nice and sweet. Tales of the Jedi, Dooku Jedi Lost. That's all you need. Go experience those stories. If you have not already, you will understand why Dooku is such an incredible character. What an awesome story. Christopher Lee was such a beautiful casting for him in the prequels. I love Count Dooku. I mean, and I'm not going to say Count. I just love Dooku in general. Just seeing that arc from those stories or whatever, there is so much depth there.
Incredibly compelling character.
The episode of Dooku's fall, proper fall of him.
God, dude.
That, I mean, I'm not kidding. That is, to me, that specific episode or those episodes are our perfect Star Wars. They are S-tier Star Wars.
Dude, I did not understand how much of a straight banger Tales of the Jedi would be. That episode of Dooku's fall, oh my god. I mean, that is peak Star Wars. That's it. It doesn't get any better.
And Kevin Kiner's soundtrack, dude. I cannot speak about it enough. I mean, we mentioned earlier with Ashton's analysis of Ahsoka, but Ashton, if you're listening, please do an analysis on Dooku's fall and the track. It's Flight into Darkness, one of my favorite Star Wars tracks ever. It's so good. So good, dude.
Okay. All right. Fantastic.
On to you.
Well, the last character on my list, but now I'm thinking of like ones that I can just say just to keep up with the rest of yours. But the last character on my list that I've written down is Trilla Siduri, the second sister. I I kind of wanted to talk about her a little bit more in length, but she is one of the, again, like new age Star Wars characters that is just really compelling to me. I think she was an amazing antagonist for Jedi Fallen Order.
Very good.
Incredibly interesting. I've got her pop figure right here because
Did I get you that, or did you get that yourself? Am I tripping? I don't even remember.
I acquired it at some point, whether by friend or by me. I think it was me, but hey, I'll give you the credit because I can't remember. So thanks, Grayson.
You're welcome.
I just trying to keep it short. Sorry.
Yes.
I think she's a great character. I think she's an excellent protagonist. I think that her
Antagonist?
sorry, did I say protagonist?
Yeah, it's okay.
Sorry. She's the hero of my story. I think that she is incredibly interesting, and her descent and then very slight redemption at the end before her final line being avenge us before she's being struck down. So good. But also her line delivery behind that mask. Oh, like she's great.
Yeah.
Second sister, everybody. That's it.
It's crazy that we both mentioned. You mentioned the antagonist of Fallen Order, and I mentioned the true antagonist of Survivor. How much we love them individually.
Bam.
High five for everybody who didn't know. All right.
And then both of us are going to equally love the antagonist of the third game.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see.
Watch it just be like absolute trash. No, it won't be. All right, I've got 3 characters left. They all can be nice and sweet because, again, you don't really have to say much about them. Ahsoka Tano.
Ahsoka Tano. Perfect
Dude,
character. Love her.
Like, probably one of the most well-developed characters in Star Wars ever, and that's, directly because of Dave Filoni, that being basically his fan fiction character, which is not a bad thing. It's just he loves Ahsoka Tano a lot, and it makes sense.
He has the liberty to just do whatever he wants with.
I was saying, listen, if I had like my own Star Wars character, would I not abuse the crap out of them? Maybe. Listen, that's why we all have our favorite little Star Wars characters, and he was directly responsible for creating Ahsoka, the Padawan of Anakin Skywalker, and so
I will say though, she was a joint creation between her and George, so I'm trying not to give him too much flack, even though I did originally tell you that she sounded like a fan fiction character because of just the way that it is presented. It's like, oh, this was Anakin's secret apprentice during the Clone Wars, but she got banished, and she died, and then she got infused with the essence of the daughter, and
and she helped the rebels, and
she helped the rebels under the secret thing of Fulcrum, and then she
Vader.
She buried all of her clones. Wow,
When
I
you
love
put it in
Ahsoka.
that-
We love Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my one thing with Ahsoka is there's been a lot of her in the past couple of years.
Yes.
I'm ready to see some more of other characters. I would like to see some more,
It's time for new age Star Wars.
Yeah. So there's obviously going to be continual Ahsoka content. We really want Ahsoka season 2, but in the next season of Tales of the Jedi, can we not get any? I mean, maybe Ahsoka pops up in an episode, but can we not get any more Ahsoka centric episodes? Can we dial that back? I want to see some other characters. Dave, Plo Koon, man, you love him. You love him. Come on, give me young Kanan stuff. Give me more Balin. Give me Shin. Give me
Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Working with Satine, meeting Satine for the first time. I want to see that arc. I really want to see that.
Crazy, it hasn't happened already.
Give me a moment to see more Grievous, please.
Yeah. Dave Filoni's like, I don't like Grievous.
He's like, Grievous sucks.
He's
laughing. That just sounds like my George impression.
The thing is they kind of sound similar, but they have to put a different inflection on. It's weird.
He is definitely George's son.
Yes, he's the Keanu Reeves meme of George Lucas, and then the little
Why do I feel like I have to make that now?
I'm
gonna make that. Sorry,
you gotta do it after this.
Yeah.
Ahsoka Tano, she's phenomenal.
Yep.
The last 2, you can't not. Oh, man, I'm gonna mention a third one too, only for your sake. Actually, just go ahead and say why haven't you said Lando yet, man? Come on.
Oh my God, I'm so stupid.
I'm gonna let you say Lando because I have 2 left.
Okay.
I realized I was like, we haven't even talked about Lando.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I just became stupid while I was writing the list. Lando Lando is most definitely like one of my favorite original trilogy characters.
So great.
I don't think it's been stated yet on the podcast, but my favorite Star Wars planet is Bespin. Coruscant is a very close runner-up, but when I was a child, I was, and I mean even now, still, I'm completely floored when I see Cloud City. I mean, it is this resort in the
So
sky.
pretty.
You know, he's like, I remember like he's trying to like swoon Leia or something. He's like, what, like, welcome to our city, little city in the clouds, or something like
Yeah.
that. And God, John Williams' theme of Cloud City, so iconic, and just the entire aspect of Empire Strikes Back. That's why it's my favorite Star Wars movie. But to me, at least as a kid, Lando was the original character that I saw that betrayed the main cast. But like he's not really he's not like a sleazy, slimy guy. Like he was trying to protect the people of the city. And he made up for it tenfold by helping rescue Han, joining the rebellion, helping destroy the second Death Star. He's an amazing character. Thank you, Billy D. Williams, for
Yes.
playing his role excellently. And Lando is an inspiration for my own personal sense of style. So
Yes.
there you go.
Also, shout out to Donald Glover
Yes,
for playing.
dude, it's such a great way to play. I
Yeah.
can't wait for the Lando movie, dude.
Please, hopefully it doesn't get scrapped, but
Like everything else has been, honestly.
man, Lando also what a force in Battlefront 2 EA. But yeah, we couldn't like. I was like, dude, Cole's like hasn't even said Lando, and it's only because the next two characters that I will mention are just
Slap.
intrinsic to the original trilogy. I got to start with Chewbacca.
Yes, love you, Chewie.
I love Han. I love Chewbacca. He is one of the ultimate companions. If I didn't have R2, it'd be Chewbacca.
Yeah,
He's great. Like
he's great. He's lovable.
I mean, like, you know, the joke in the original trilogy was like he was like, you know, Han Solo's dog, but like he is that and so much more, you know. And Chewbacca is and just Wookiees in general are so iconic.
Let the Wookiee win.
Let the Wookiee win. Don't even try it, guys.
Let the Wookiee win.
Last character, because we just got to round it out. You just can't not mention him if you're gonna mention everybody else, and that's C-3PO.
Okay.
Yeah, C-3PO. He's so entertaining to watch. Anthony Daniels is just remarkable as the character. Again, like you said with R2D2, one of the most consistent characters throughout all of Star Wars.
Yes.
Everybody knows, like, if you really have to think it like the Star Wars characters, it's like Vader, 3PO, and R2 are like very iconic. That gold, that white and blue, and that black and red. You know,
and Yoda as well.
I was gonna say Yoda, like the little green guy, and now Baby Yoda or Grogu even more. But and I also have a soft spot for 3PO because Anthony Daniels was the very first Star Wars actor I ever saw in person.
Right.
I did Star Wars in concert when I was probably 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. I was in 5th or 6th grade. They had it at our local like arena, or if you want to call it that. And they did. John Williams was not there, but it was a traveling orchestra of them doing just tons of tracks from Star Wars. They had a giant screen. Surrounding the arena was all of the different costumes and from the movies that rotated with. And I remember there being like a 3PO and a Kit Fisto and a Vader and Stormtrooper, and it was really cool. And that was a time that also was like where Star Wars was a little more like not as much content, you know, in a weird kind of era where like it was just Clone Wars, really.
The great content drought.
Yeah, like that was kind of that for us. But I remember just like Star Wars in concert was absolutely iconic to me, and Anthony Daniels was there, and I love 3PO, and my girlfriend loves 3PO a ton. So
3PO is great.
I love him.
He really is one of the unsung heroes, you know.
Yeah, he's so funny too. Like
without even
trying.
Funny to watch. Yeah, because he's just so unaware.
3PO.
I guess. Yeah, but I will have to say this: I have one more character to add, because
I'll let you finish it off.
We cannot round this list off without mentioning this character once. But thematic with the character, he always comes back. Emperor Palpatine.
I hate that guy. I'm just kidding. He's a great villain. He's a great villain.
Palpatine, I mean, let's keep it short and simple. Vader might be, Vader is the most iconic film villain of all time, but Palpatine is the most iconic Dark Lord. We all know him very well. He is sinister. He is like evil incarnate. Out of any, character that you could think of that is just pure evil, that is Sheev Palpatine. There is no redeeming quality within him. It's just pure greed and pride and just a lust for power and the will to dominate and destroy others' lives for sheer enjoyment.
He is Star Wars Satan.
Yes, literally. And funnily enough, he's just a guy. A guy did that much evil. He was not this mystical being born of great power. Like, he was just born and ended up becoming one of the worst person in the universe. So however, we love to hate him. He's a fantastic villain. He's just the Star Wars version of the devil. So
yeah. And how many memes?
How many memes?
Yeah, dude.
And also Ian McDermott's excellent portrayal of the character.
Yep.
Masterclass of acting. I mean, there you go.
There you go.
We love Star Wars, in case anybody didn't notice.
We love Star Wars.
There you go.
Cole, I have thoroughly enjoyed speaking on our favorite characters, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in to all 3 parts. If you did, if you didn't, feel free to go back, because there's a lot of characters that you maybe didn't know.
If you didn't, what are you doing here? Please go back to part 1. But also thanks for sticking around throughout the whole episode.
Yes, this was a long one. I knew it would be, but we have gotten through all of the characters, at least that we had down on our list, and I'm sure we're gonna click stop recording, and then we're gonna think about 5 more characters apiece, and we're gonna be like, why didn't we mention them? So maybe one day down the line, not immediately, but down the line, we'll do a follow up, or to be like, oh, here's some other characters that we forgot to mention, or some new characters that came out. They're like, I loved that character. So yeah, honestly, I don't think we're gonna have time for the card today.
Oh, I love the card.
Okay, I'll do the card.
Hey, what if it's super simple? It could be.
Cole we're gonna get the most complex one. Cole is like my kid in the backseat of the van. He's like, no, I love the card.
I just love the card. The card's so great. It makes every episode interesting.
Not interesting enough.
It's just more interesting. The card. Give us the card.
Okay, let's see here. I'm not even gonna overthink it. We're just gonna grab this card right here. Dude, this is it's actually not that bad. It's just a kind of a layered question. You can choose to adopt one Star Wars creature to be your pet. Which do you pick, and what would you name it?
Oh, that's kind of tough. I'm gonna need to think about this for a second.
I'm not gonna even overthink it. I'm just gonna pick I'm gonna pick a Lothcat because I think they're great, and I'm gonna name it. What am I gonna name it? Is there Space Waffles? Is that a thing? I've always wanted to name a pet Waffle, so I don't know if there's I'll name it. I'll name it. You know what? I'll name the Lothcat Melu for Melu Run.
Oh, that's
so my little Melu. I'll let you think about it.
Man, I feel so pressed to come up with an answer because it's a podcast, and so it's all relative to making sure that there's consistent speech. Wow, there's just so much in here.
What are some of the characters that you're running through? Because I mean, I'll be honest, my brain at this point now is pretty fried, but I'm trying to think
my brain's done, dude. I just typed up Star Wars pets and I'm looking at the list. Oh, there's a picture of Jar Jar. Okay.
Wow. That's
wow.
The thing is, there's a lot of creatures in Star Wars are very
very
nice.
deadly.
Yeah.
My
Tauntaun would be fun.
Tauntaun would be fun. Okay. I'm just gonna go out on a whim here. I am going to adopt. I'm gonna go full Boba Fett. I'm gonna adopt a Rancor.
Oh
Uh,
my!
and his name will be Snuggles. Wait, no, actually, I'm changing the name. He's gonna be Mr. Bartholomew. Uh, so yeah, so you've got your loth cat named Waffles, and I have a
Hey, his name is Melu.
Malu. Sorry, I just
Waffles
really
don't
attached to.
exist.
Well, it could.
I'm looking up
and-
if waffles exist in Star Wars.
and my pet will be Rancor, Mr. Bartholomew. So there you go. That's the answer to the question.
You're not. What? Okay, never mind. I am naming him Waffle because you want to know why? You want to know why this is what I found? I don't really know what this LY means, but this is this real? Hold up, let me make sure. Is this canon? Oh my god, it is canon. Yep. All right. Well, here you go. Space waffles were a type of food that could be found on the planet of Lothal by 3272 LY, which also means BBY. Old Joe's Pit Shop served them with Muja sauce topping, which was favored by Kanan Jarrus. Space waffles were also served at Ronto Grill, a restaurant at the wharf on level 1313 of Coruscant's underworld during the Clone Wars.
What?
Hera Syndulla once added space waffles to her shopping list, among other things. So, I mean, listen, if Kanan loves space waffles with Muja sauce, I'm naming my Loth Cat Waffle. Thank you.
If the card is making me choose a species, I would prefer a droid.
You already did that.
Stop yelling at me.
I'm sorry. All right, that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you guys all so much for listening. Please remember, Tales from the Archives, December 1st, first 3 chapters of Plagueis. Me, Cole, Beyond the Dune Sea, Star Wars Sith, Diamond Figs. Be there or be
Square
in space.
and dead.
Yeah, you might die.
It's gonna die. There's no might. That's a promise.
Should we tease? I mean, we've already teased it. Next week's episode, we're gonna get into it. We already kind of got into it a little bit today.
Yeah.
It's we're gonna a little spicy. Again, we're stealing a book straight out of Beyond the Dune Sea. They have given their blessing, and of course, it's not like they patented it or anything. This is done by many people.
Yeah,
we will be doing
it's basically like they made scrambled eggs, and we were like, oh, that's a good idea, but they didn't come up with that, and we were just like, oh, that's cool, we'll do that.
Yeah, it's a good idea, and it's a very entertaining episode. Go watch their Star Wars tier list because that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna get into a little bit of debate on,
after today it might be a little bit more interesting than I thought it'd be.
Yes. Maybe I'll try to get this one out a little bit early because Thanksgiving is next week and we'll be busy, so maybe we'll try to this one will be a little bit closer earlier in the week. Well because I kind of forgot about that, but you'll see us when you see us.
Yep.
But that's gonna do it for this episode, everybody. Thank you all for listening, for watching. Subscribe, rate, follow on whichever platform you are on. You can check us out at our @ right here. I'm at Shrage38. Cole is at the.cosmic.drifter. And you can follow us both at Mortis FM. That's all on Instagram. Do the closing honors, my friend.
Well, Grayson, to you and to everyone listening and or watching.
And/or.
Yeah. May the Force be with you.
Always.